Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to do a little bit of carbon fiber dipping again, and it's going to be on a Toyota Tacoma. We've got about I believe it's a 2018 Toyota Tacoma, and we're going to be doing some carbon fiber interior pieces on it. So a couple of different things before we get started here. We got to make sure that we know which way the carbon needs to run and how these parts are sitting in the car. So did a quick Google search. It wasn't a quick one. It took a little bit of time on figuring everything out. My Tundra looks similar to that, but
I don't think these are truck parts.
Yeah.
These are too small for truck. Let me borrow this 1 second.
But got it all figured out, so now that we know how everything sits, now we know which way all the carbon needs to go, because for me, I like to have everything aesthetically pleasing, if you will. And so what that means is that all my carbon goes one way, or maybe on the left hand side it goes to the left, on the right hand side it goes to the right. So that way everything kind of meets up in the middle, and you don't have just all these crisscross patterns like this one's going this way, that one's going that way. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So we try to lay everything out, take a little bit of time, lay everything out, and get everything exactly the way that it needs to look whenever it's on the car. So a little bit of prep time will definitely make it look 10 times better on the end result. So we've got these bezels here. Now we're not doing all of these actually. So we're actually just doing this piece right here. We're just doing the covers that go over this, and of course the I believe this is part of the AC part, and then this is where your shifter is going to go. So looking at these, I'll kind of flip them around here so that way y'all can see them. This actually sets just like this. So you have your dash here, you have your other parts right here. This will actually set just like that, and then you have your shifter bezel that sets like this. And so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make sure that all of our carbon is going one way, whether it be this way or that way, doesn't really matter, but we all want it to go one way. And so in this case, because it is on the driver's side, we're actually going to make it be running this way. And so we want to make sure that on all three of these pieces right here, they're all going to be going the exact same way, so it looks better in the end. And so the other thing is because this one is kind of on its own. It's you know, you've got your dash up here, and then you've also got your shifter down here for the Tacomas. This one can actually go either way. It doesn't really matter. It's far enough away that you're not really going to see anything. So there's a couple of things that we want to do, and so the first thing is that we're going to label which way these things go. So apparently I got to grab some tape. Give me just a minute. Got our tape. Now we're ready to label everything and make sure that whenever we go to dip this, I only want to dip it once unless something messes up, apart from it going the wrong way. So I want to make sure that every time that I dip it, I know which way it needs to go. So easiest way to do that is to get some tape like this and lay it down just like that. And so now we'll transfer that, the way that it's going, to the back side whenever we actually go to dip the part. So again, on something like this, we just want to kind of lay this out so that we know that it just needs to go in that direction. All right, and so again, we'll take this right here and lay that across that. And on this one, doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to go ahead and put one on there just in case. So now that we know which way all these parts go, we can go ahead and get everything ready to start dipping. So another little quick thing that we always like to do just to make sure that we keep everything together, you've kind of noticed here that we've got all of our screws and everything, and we've taped it to the part. That way we make sure that everything that goes with this customer's parts, it always goes back together the exact same way. We've got a bag here, we put everything in the bag, we taped it to the parts, and then we also have it labeled on whose name it is. So that way keeps it a little bit more organized, and it doesn't take but just a few more minutes to do whenever you're taking things apart and getting them ready to go. So now that we know which way these parts go, we can set this off to the side here. Same thing with that. Set that off to the side. All right, so now that we've got those, now we're going to transfer our tape back over to the back side of these. And so now that I can see which way my tape is going, I can pretty much just take this right here and know that whenever I am dipping this piece right here, if I'm looking at this back side right here, I know that if my carbon is going this way, then I'm going the wrong way. So I actually need to turn it like that if my carbon is going this way. So then that way, whenever I go to dip it down in the water, I know that I have the exact way that the carbon needs to go because I've already laid it out. And so this is just a quick tip, quick way to go ahead and dip these. So we're gonna go ahead and take these and transfer them back over to all the other ways that I had it set whenever we first laid these out, and then that way I can take all this tape off and get it started. And again, on something like this, because this one's not anywhere near any of these other three, doesn't really matter, but we're just going to do it just to make sure. And so again, we're making sure that we don't put any of the tape on the dip part. We're only just putting it on this back side, and really on this one we're just going to take it off. But we do want to make sure that we keep it on this other one here, because this one will be seen. And so we'll just take this here, transfer it back over just like that, and pull that tape off right there. So now I know that whenever I'm dipping it down, and I can see that visually, I know exactly which way that carbon needs to run 100%. So let's go ahead, let's move these out of the way. We'll get our film in here and we will get started. So, all right, so we got our film. And so again, on our film, it's probably one of the most popular films that we use for any of the carbon fiber projects that we have in the shop. This is going to be the CF282. It is a black and clear carbon fiber. It's a diagonal weave, and so essentially you can use just about any color you want underneath it and it will show through. And so in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to lay this out here, and we're going to tape our edges and then go ahead and run a piece of tape all the way across. Mainly just because it's wanting to roll up, and you can see right in here. Not a big deal at all. Sometimes whenever the humidity is a little bit higher in the shop or something like that, sometimes the film wants to do that. Other times the film has been rolled a certain way and it wants to roll up. So quick and easy thing to do, just to take some tape like this, lay it down, throw it across the film, and you're good to go. So now we can take our knife here and cut all of this off. And now we have pretty much a brand new line to start with. So now we can start laying everything out. And so as I'm looking at this, I'm looking at, okay, so that's good right there. I can see the way that my carbon's going to be running, and then that way I've got everything lined out. The other thing is that like in a situation like this, most people would dip it like that. But if you notice, this carbon is actually running this way, right? But it's not the way that I need it to run. So I actually have to spin this 90 degrees just to make sure that I get that carbon running the exact same way that it needs to run whenever I go to dip this. So the other thing is we'll take this and we'll make sure that this one's the exact same way. So really, even though I had plenty of room to possibly, you know, dip something like this, like right in here, and kind of keep it, you know, a little bit more contained like this, where maybe I got like 2 dips out of it, and then I could have got a third one right there. To do it the right way, we need to make sure that all of these are turning the right way. The other thing to make sure of is, especially on carbon, is that you got to make sure that you have it the way that the film is facing down on the water. And so in this case, I believe it's actually backwards. So that's something to definitely check and make sure whenever you are laying out all your parts, because if not, you'll cut everything, and then if you have to flip it over, your carbon's going to be backwards. So you want to make sure that you have it laid out the way that it sits on the water. So we'll go ahead and we'll test this, and let's pull this down here. Just take our fingers, we'll get them wet, and the side that sticks to your finger, of course, goes down in the water. So in this case, it's actually the top side. So we actually do need to spin it around, flip it around. So we'll take all of our parts back off, and we'll flip it around to make sure that we get the right way that the film needs to lay on the water. And so in this case, It's going to be a little bit backwards from unrolling it, but that's going to be the way that we need to lay it on the water, so that's the way that we're going to lay it out on the table. So in this case, now I can take this, and now if you actually look at it, the film is actually running great, because now beforehand we had to run it like this whenever it was upside down, but now we can actually set it just like that. I've got my carbon running the right way that I need it to, so that's the way that's going to be really good. The other thing is we've got this right here. I can take this, and so it looks like that's going to be going really good. I don't know, we'll see. That actually should work. Actually, no, we're just gonna leave it, and we'll probably just go ahead and do this, and then we'll just cut this right in the middle here, so that way we have plenty of room. The only reason why I was a little bit skeptical is you can make it work, but whenever you stretch carbon, it's really noticeable. Whenever you have like camouflage or something like that, you can stretch a leaf, stretch a tree, and it still looks pretty much like a tree. You take carbon that's a really directional pattern, and it has a exact size all the way throughout the entire pattern. That's not something that you want to stretch as much as possible. And so in this case, we're going to allow it to wrap all the way around without stretching as much as possible. So therefore we're going to take this, and if we pull this up right here, we would have to cut it about right here to have enough room to dip this entire part. Well, if we have it right here and we do this, it's going to be close, I'm not going to lie, but just because I want to make sure that I have plenty of room, I'm actually going to just set this one up there. We're going to take this and set this one in the middle, and then that way we can go ahead and move forward with getting everything cut and ready to go. So in this case, because we're just going to cut all of this off right here, we're going to lay this out. We've got a good couple of inches on each side just to account for the stretch that's going to come up into here and also up into here. And so again, easy way to do that is the side that is going to be the closest to the edge, which is going to be like up here. We'll give ourselves a little bit of room, and then as we roll it over again, you can see that we can probably cut it right about here, and that's going to be more than enough to give us extra room to do all of the dipping that we need, and also get a very good pattern out of the entire thing without having a lot of stretch or anything. So we can move that back. We'll set that up here. So now we're ready to go ahead and set it down in the water. So I'm going to cut this tape off right here. Cut this tape off right there. All right, so make sure that our dams are set the way that they need to. We're going to push these out just a smidgen. Pull those, and now we're ready to pick this film up and lay it down into the water. So again, there's a lot of different ways that you can lay it down in the water. In this case, we just like doing corner to corner. It seems to work the best in a smaller piece of film like this. So we can set it down like this, and then there you go. Time wise, we're going to have 60 seconds on the water. Right now we're sitting at about 82 degrees on our tank, which is pretty much ideal. Normally anywhere between 80 to 90 degrees is what you need to have whenever you're doing any of the dipping, and of course letting it sit for 60 seconds. What we've got is of course our Liquid Concepts activator that we're going to be spraying on the film. Great activator, we've used it for years and years. Pretty much we're just going to spray one pass here, one pass there, and we're going to be good to go. It's going to glass out really nice, and then we're going to start making the magic happen. So let me grab some gloves on, and then we'll get started. All right, so 60 seconds on the clock, and then we're going to have just a really light spray of the air, so then that way we can be about 6 to 8 inches above the water, and then like I said, about 2 passes and we'll be good to go. All right, so the film, we'll let that glass out, and actually, so one thing to kind of look at is sometimes this will happen from time to time. You can see where I've got these little spots right in here with a lot of my carbon fiber. it's probably because I've got just a little bit too much activator. So in a case like this, I'm actually just going to throw it away. It's not something that I want to dip because I don't want to redo the part. I'd rather just waste the film and go ahead and shoot it again. So sometimes whenever you're at a situation like this, even we have it, it's no big deal. It's just part of it. You just got to try it again. But you're at the point of this is going to be the cheapest option for you to redo the part, and so we don't want to repaint it. We want to be able to hit it in one shot, so we're going to kick our pump on, let this rinse out, and go ahead and lay another piece down. So give us just a minute and we'll get another piece in. Okay, so we got everything rinsed off in the tank. We're gonna try round 2 and go from there. So again, we got our part laid out here. We're gonna just cut this, make it short and sweet. If you didn't see the previous little bit, you can rewatch it, see how we cut it and everything, but essentially we're gonna grab our film and lay it back down into the water again. All right, so again, we got 60 seconds on the clock. I'm gonna take this and kind of move this just a little bit right there. We'll pull this in, there we go. Just like that. And of course, we'll pull it together just as close as we can. So we'll let this sit. We got about 40 seconds, 30 seconds left here. I'm gonna grab some gloves on and then we'll activate it again and go for round 2. So we do have a little bitty bubble right here. I'm not even gonna try to get it out, mainly because I'm not dipping in this little bitty area. I can maneuver my part over here, over there, because I have plenty of room, so I'm gonna be good. So again, we're gonna take this and activate it through here. And just like that. So now if you noticed, I went a little bit faster, and if you notice, just that little bit of going a little bit faster, it helps tremendously in not having those spots like what we did before. So we can take this, we can start at an angle, and again, I'm making sure that all of my carbon fiber is running the exact same way, and then we can start going down. Now I'm going down at this angle like this, and then once I get close to here, I'm actually still going to keep pushing it forward as I go down. And so once we have that, we'll kind of move the film out of the way and then pull it back out. And there we go. We have carbon fiber all the way around. Part looks really good. And yeah, I think customer's gonna be really happy with that. We don't have any waves or stretch on it. It was a very clean dip. Everything looks really good with it. So, and I've also got my carbon running the exact same way that I wanted it to on the actual, the back side of this. So that's gonna look really nice. So we'll put this in the rinse station and get dipping with the other parts. Okay, so now that we got the first one out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and lay out some of these other pieces and get them going as well. So again, on something like this one's gonna be pretty straightforward. It does have a little bit of recess in these areas right here, so we just wanna make sure that we keep it at an angle just to make sure we don't trap any air inside there. Other than that though, it's just gonna be almost straight down. We wanna make sure we keep an eye out on this. It could trap a little bit of air, but as I'm going down, you can kind of see which way that I'm going to be dipping that. So some people will come in and tape up all this backside all this side right here, so then that way the carbon doesn't, you know, stretch or void or anything like that. For as little bit as what this little bit is right here, I don't really feel like it's necessary, so I'm just going to leave pretty much my line right here so I know which way my carbon needs to run. But other than that, we're not really going to tape up any of that, and I am not going to tape up for sure any of this area. If I do, then I'm definitely going to puncture a hole or something through that, so then that way I don't trap any air inside here, because that's something that you definitely don't want to do. So if you do have to tape this up for some reason, like on another part, maybe it's bigger, something like that, make sure you puncture a hole, even some slits in it, to make sure that as you're dipping, you don't trap a whole bunch of air in those pockets like that. So again, something like this, pretty straightforward. And then we can take and probably actually get both of these dipped the exact same time. So we can lay that out like that, and then also lay that out like this right here. So now we know exactly that we can cut it across here, cut it down across like that. So now we have this part right here for this film, this part, and that part like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and silence that. Go ahead and cut these out here, and then we'll get to dipping. So again, we'll leave ourselves a little bit of room for excess, and then we'll go ahead and cut these across here. This one, like I said, it's pretty straightforward, nothing fancy to it, and then we'll just leave the rest of them there. So we'll take this here, lay that down in the water, and now that we've got it in the water, we'll take it and pull our dividers in, so that way we keep all the film contained as much as possible, because the last thing that we want is to have stretched carbon fiber whenever the part is not really that stretched at all. So again, I could put my divider right here, but I'm actually going to set it down right there. It's going to pull it back just a little bit probably, but I'm not too concerned with that, because the stretch of that little bitty bit, it's not really going to hurt it, because we're mainly dipping right in this center section. So we'll grab some gloves on and get started. So the one thing you want to make sure of with this is that you start at an angle like that, and then start going down and keeping that same angle. So we're gonna take our activator here, spray it across, everything looks good, looks like it's glassed out, check it, yep, everything looks good. And then so we're gonna take our part right here, and I'm going to start it back in this back corner like this, and I've got a little bit of an angle, but I'm also going the right way that the carbon needs to go. And so by going at this angle like this, I can make sure that as I'm going down into the water, I'm always making sure that the air has a way to escape out. And so whenever we dip those, pull them out, and now we have carbon fiber going all the way across the entire part. And of course, I know that it's going the right way because I've got my marker on there. So everything looks good with this, and we'll go on to the next piece. Okay, so that one came out really good. We're gonna go ahead and do the shifter bezel here. Again, this one we can actually do either way, so we're just gonna save a little bit of material and go ahead and cut this down just like that. And we'll cut this off here, and then we'll cut this across. And so now that we know that we have plenty of room for all of the carbon, we'll set that off and we'll get this down into the water. So again, nothing fancy with this, mainly just corner to corner. And so you can lay it down a couple of different ways, but the biggest thing is just make sure that you don't get any actual water on top of it or air trapped underneath of it. So kind of a good thing that we did this. You can see that I cut a little bit extra just in case I always do that, you know. And so this is a prime example. You can see that some of my film actually rolled underneath that. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna pull this down to where, even though I'm wrinkling this part right here, I'm actually getting closer over into here. And so now that I've pulled that down like that, I contain everything in, but I've still got plenty of room to dip my part. So we're gonna go ahead and grab some gloves on and get ready to start dipping. All right, so again, 60 seconds on the water. We've got it at about 82 degrees, and then we're gonna be spraying our liquid concept activator. So on this one, just one pass straight across. Our fan is big enough to go all the way around. And again, on something like this, because of these edges that curve up like that, I am gonna start it. I'm gonna hold it as best I can right through here. Actually, we're gonna hold it like this. And so I'm gonna start it a little bit of an angle like this right here. And then essentially the film will actually just roll up onto itself. And so I'm just gonna go down as straight and as evenly as possible. And then once we get it down in, we'll bring it back out. And now we have carbon fiber for all of the shifter bezel. And looks like everything came out really nice. Everything looks good. So that's definitely gonna be a good hit. Customer's gonna love that. All right, so last piece, we're gonna pretty much just lay this out like we have done all the others. Give us a little bit of room over here. Make sure that we're good on that. Now again, I'm not gonna be able to use a little sliver like this, so I'm just going to pretty much cut it off straight across. So this one right here, we'll cut this off like that, and then we'll pick this up and get it back down into the water. All right, so we'll start our timer, pull down our dividers, and in this case, I'm actually going to just drop it down just like that, right down into the water. All right, perfect. So we'll get some gloves on and get the last one dipped. All right, so this one, we're gonna spray it twice. We're gonna have just a little bit of overlap right up here, but mainly we're gonna be able to get the majority of it on the one pass. So everything glassed out, looks like it's really good. And so now make sure that my carbon is running the way that I've got my tape set up here. And so again, I'm gonna start like this right here at an angle, and then go down, and then just keep going down at that same angle all the way through. And then once I get to here, I'm actually rolling it back into itself. So then that way I don't stretch the carbon as it comes up and around this area right here. And so you can see we've got a really good coverage all the way around. The carbon doesn't look stretched, and we've got our carbon running the exact same way like all of our other pieces. So now everything's going to look exactly perfect whenever it's on the truck. So we'll go ahead, we'll put this in the rinse station, and then we'll get it rinsed off and clear coated. So we got the clear coat on these parts. They came out amazing, and I think the customer's definitely going to love it. So they're definitely a one of a kind. Again, these are for a Toyota Tacoma. I think it's around a 16 to an 18 is what the year models range from for these exact parts. And for the interior trim pieces, these are definitely going to look amazing and one of a kind. So we went ahead and we shot these with a high gloss clear. They came out really good. We're very happy with them. Once these go ahead and get done drying, we're gonna box them back up, ship them to the customer, and they're gonna absolutely love them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know we always do. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe to us. We'd love to have you watching the videos. We put them out every week, and we do them just for you guys. So if y'all do have any other questions, or you'd like to see a video or anything like that, definitely hit us up. You can check us out in the comments below, or you can always email us, and we'd love to hear from you on any tips, tricks, recommendations, videos that you got, or anything in between. So I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and we're making Hydrographics great again. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.